last year. Sandy's going to be pitching in and helping. She's got skills that are complementary to Katie's, so that'll allow us to introduce some new topics, and it'll allow Katie to take a little break and not have to be with us quite as often as she has been. So, so get used to Katie on the first Wednesday of the month and Sandy on the third Wednesday of the month, and then leadership topics that will vary in between. And I think that's about it. So just kind of for anybody who's new or doesn't know how this works, what I'm going to do here in a minute is turn off my own video and mute myself. Encourage you all to do the same. Sandy will go ahead and start demonstrating, and then as she's going through, if you have questions, feel free to unmute and ask a question. If you don't have a microphone or you don't want to ask the question out loud, use the chat feature, and then I will go ahead and relay those to Sandy. Sandy will also probably pause a couple times during the presentation to specifically ask for questions as well. So, and if for some reason you can't see, can't hear, let us know. I think we all have our own frame of reference for how we're experiencing these Zoom things. So if for some reason you can't speak, please speak up. So I am going to be quiet and turn it over to Sandy. And Sandy, you go right ahead.
All right. Hi, welcome everybody. And I'm Sandy Wentworth, and I'm here to give you guys kind of a little tour of sink basics. So a little bit of plumbing, how to repair, do some basic troubleshooting for sinks, and repair a faucet or replace a faucet. So thought I'd get started with some different tools that you may need when you're working on a faucet. And then we're going to go out and look at turning off the water at the street, at the water meter, before it gets dark, hopefully, and then a couple other little demos. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them as we go. So tools that you might need while you're working on a faucet. So I have Allen wrenches here, which are really good. A lot of faucets, the handles, I'll show you. This one doesn't particularly have one, but a lot of faucets will have a small hole in it to use the Allen wrench to take the faucet off or the handle off. And so, and I'll kind of show that on the kitchen faucet. We've also got, basic screwdriver. So, Phillips head. I got a nice big flat head to take the meter lid off. I like the flat utility knife because it's really great for, scraping off old putty or caulking, etc. You may need some kind of wire brush tool, which this one's really great. You can use the brush inside of a pipe to clean out like rust. And then if you need to clean out the actual pipe, if there's stuff on it, it comes with a wire brush here to clean the actual pipe. So those are really great tools to have. We also want an adjustable wrench. So, you can change the size of your wrench by turning a little thing. I don't know what the official word for that is. You have a pipe wrench, and this is really good for so if you have like a ball valve or piece of pipe that you're trying to get off and replace, you're going to want 1 to 2 of these. You can use one of these, and then a good adjustable pliers to help get the pipe off, because you're going to want to hold one side still while you're turning the other, and you need something strong like a good pipe wrench to do that. One of the imperative things you need for a sink is a basin wrench. And so this is a telescoping basin wrench, And so depending on how long you need it, you just push the little button and move it up and down. And then depending on whether you're tightening or loosening, you flip the head. And so the point of this is so you can go back behind a sink and loosen or tighten these nuts right here. And so once you finger tighten them, then you want to use something like this to tighten it all the way. Or if you need to get it off, you flip it over and then take it on the nut and loosen it up until you can get it off with your fingers. Other things, you might need some pipe dope, or pipe thread sealant is another word for it. So they have a couple of different kinds depending on what type of pipe you're using. This one is for iron or copper, a metal type of pipe. And they also have for the plastic, the PVC. This is pipe tape. And so this helps to, get a good seal when you're putting your hoses and stuff on to keep it from leaking. And then we have plumber's putty, which, it's just this really thick putty that you kind of roll out into snake-like form, and you put it around the gasket or the drain. So around a drain like this before you put it in, and then you squish it down, and it helps keep everything from leaking or moving once you've put your faucet in. So I'll kind of go about that a little bit more. And of course, a flashlight is always helpful when you're working under the sink. So any questions about the basic tools? Oh, one more thing. So some silicone caulking. If you are working on a marble sink, you may use this to put around your gasket instead of the plumber's putty. So it's just because of the material difference, the silicone caulk is going to be better for a marble countertop. So any questions about the tools? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
No?
Looking
All right.
great. Yeah, you're doing great.
So before it gets dark, let's go look at the water meter.
That's such a big thing.
I know, it's huge. Let's take a walk outside. Okay. So when you're working on your plumbing, you want to turn off the water. And generally you can do that just under the sink. There's a couple of valves that I'll show you in a little bit that you can turn off, and then double check the faucet to make sure that there's still not water flowing. If there is water flowing, there's a couple of different things you can do. So if it's only the hot water that's flowing, you can also turn it off at the water heater. But if it's the cold water side that's flowing, or you don't know how to turn it off at the water heater, you can come turn off your water to the whole house at your water meter. And in order to do that, you need a meter key, which is this big long thing. and they're not expensive. I think this one was a little more expensive because it was taller. It was 20 bucks. And then, a good flat tip screwdriver to get the lid off. So this is my water meter, and it might look different to some other people because this is one of the brand new AMI ones. So it's got an RF modulator that transmits the meter reads to Tacoma Water. So you just stick your screwdriver in there, pull it up, 2 hands, and you can see this is the RF modulator. And you want to be careful not to, you know, disconnect any wires or anything, or else you'll have the water company coming and yelling at you. And then here is your meter. So the big box here actually is, you know, what shows your reads. And you can go in here and flip the lid and see what your current read is. And then next to it right there, that is the shut off, the ball valve. So you put your key on there, and let's see if you can get really close. There it almost looks like a little arrow right here. So if it's pointing to the house, you know it's on. So we're gonna turn this. Now it's pointing away from the house. So now you know that the water is off. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back on. There you go. So that is how to turn on and off your water at the water meter. Any questions about that?
Oh, very good, very clear.
All right. Put this lid back on. And we're back inside. So let's get to a faucet. So say you have a faucet you need to replace. So this is our old faucet, and it would be connected to the sink with these nuts. And then it would have a water supply tubing that would be connected to it. And then this tubing would be connected to your ball valve at the bottom of the sink. So you will have a valve like this under your sink for each supply. So one for the cold water supply and one for the hot water supply. It doesn't want to go on. Might be the wrong size.
Oh, here, can I get a close-up of that ball valve?
Yeah. Well, I'll show that in this. Let's see.
Okay.
So there's different types of ball valves. And so if you're going to replace one of these, you definitely want to turn the water off at your water meter, use your pipe wrench and the crescent wrench to get it off. And then, check the pipe to make sure it's not corroded and clean it out if you need to. But then take the old one with you to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you go take the old one with you so that you make sure that you match up the sides. So this particular one is a 1/2 inch by, I think, 3/8 of an inch. So you can see on the box that this says that it's an angle stop that's 1/2 inch by 3/8 inch. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're getting the right size. So take the old one with you so you can match up the sides and the type, and because there's different angles, there's straight, and then to turn on and off your water, you turn this little valve here, and this one's just a 1/4 turn, which is really nice because you don't have to keep turning it. So anyway, when you're removing a faucet, the first thing you want to do is turn off the water, of course. Check to make sure the water's no longer flowing. And then once that's done, you want to remove the tubing. So I always remove it from the ball valve first, and just a simple crescent wrench to, get it loose. And then you usually can just use your fingers to unscrew the rest. And then the second part would be to remove the other half of your tubing. And that's where your basin wrench is going to come into play, because, this is going to be behind your sink. And so you want to put your basin wrench on there. And then, so this is tight. So if I want to loosen it, I would flip it over. You reach up there, get it on, and then use that to loosen it until you can get it off with your fingers. Okay. Then once you get the tubing off, you're going to use the basin wrench again to loosen up these nuts, because once they're up under the sink, they're up there good and tight. And so you usually don't have the finger strength to do it initially. So you use your basin wrench again, and they're adjustable to get up there around that nut. And it's a little more difficult because of the little things that are sticking off these nuts, but it still works. You get up there and you get it loose until you can get it off with your fingers. Now, some of the new faucets, which actually is really, really nice, you're able to finger tighten these, and then they have 2 screws on each side of this nut. And then you just use a Phillips screwdriver to loosen that screw on each side. And then you can just finger pull it off, because the screws are what tightens it to the bottom of your sink, instead of having to try and use one of these basin wrenches with these nuts. So those are really nice, and they're usually made of metal, so they'll last longer also. One thing to know about your faucets too, if your new faucet has plastic, the PVC pipe coming down here, you don't need to use the tape to create the seal, because the plastic creates the seal itself. But you have to be super careful when you're attaching your water supply line, because if you cross thread on a plastic, it will mess it up and it'll leak forever. So you got to be really, really slow and really careful just to make sure that you're not cross threading. So that's one thing good to know. So once you get the nuts off, you can pull your old faucet straight out of the back of the sink. and then put it aside and get your new faucet and put it on. So now there's different types of faucets. So don't just go buy one without knowing what you need to get too. So this is a center set faucet, and you know, it's for like a bathroom lab that has really close set holes. So you can see how close these holes, there would be 3 holes in your sink top that are pretty close together. Now, your kitchen and some of the other bathrooms have wider ones, and you can get what are called wide set faucets. And some of them come with a wide set base like this, or they'll come in 3 pieces where you have your faucet and your handles separate. So you want to make sure that, you know, you're putting the right handle on the right side and everything else. So, you know, check that, how it's turning when you put it in, and make sure you've got them on the right side. So you put your new faucet in.
Okay. Sorry.
Got it? Okay. Put your new faucet in. Oh, before you put the new faucet in, if it is metal, I recommend taping this before you put it in, because it's a lot easier to tape outside of the faucet than it is to reach up behind your sink and try to tape. So your plumber's tape, you just put on there, and you want to wrap it around a good, okay, let's see if I can get this, a good 3 to 4 times. Of course, you know, tonight my fingers aren't working. So just, you know, near the bottom, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but, you know, 3 or 4 times, and then you just pull it off, get it on there. And so that's going to create a nice seal when you put your tubing back on. So then, you know, you get both sides taped, put your faucet back in the sink, and then put the nuts on. Again, you know, finger tighten it as far as you can possibly go, and then use the basin wrench, or if it has screws, the screws to tighten it up tight against the sink. Oh, and I'm sorry, I totally forgot one step. This is before you put this in. So tape first, and then, you know, put your caulking or your plumber's putty on your gasket before you put it in the sink. Then you can put your nut on. So again, like if you're using plumber's putty, it's kind of like clay. You know, just get a good amount. You roll it out. A little snake. And press it up on there. You want. So then when you put the pipe down and you get these good and tight, it's going to squish out a little bit. And so you're going to see it squish out. And so you could just take your finger and, you know, clean up the edges and take care of that. So it's no big deal to have a little bit squish out. Take that off. So again, once you get that up good and tight, then you put the water supply hoses back on. So get that good and tight, and then tighten it up with your basin wrench so you can't tighten it anymore. And then do the same thing on the bottom. So attach that to your valve. Remember when you're attaching this to your valve, but you want to make sure you hold the hose so that the hose isn't twisting when you tighten it up. So you're going to hold it, and then at the, once you can't finger tighten it anymore, use your wrench to tighten it with one hand while you're holding the hose with the other, because you don't want it spinning around. And again, with this, you're going to want to tape up the threaded side of your valve, good 3 or 4 times. Tear that off, and then attach your hose. Okay? Any questions on that so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
If you get a faucet with a rubbery plastic gasket that goes underneath, is that in place of the plumber's putty, or do you still need to do plumber's putty when you have that?
So yes, you're correct. So if it's a rubbery gasket, you do not need to do the plumber's putty, because that rubbery gasket is kind of like a silicone gasket that is going to help adhere it to the sink better. So yes,
okay,
you are correct. Anything else? Okay, so let's see, where was I? Okay, so once you get this all connected again, then you want to turn the water on slowly and make sure it's not leaking down under the sink first. And then you turn on your faucet.
So, someone asked a question. Can you type that again? Sorry, I don't see that.
Oh, that's okay. I can read it. Should we caulk around the base of the faucet?
You mean right here, under here, or after it's in?
Yeah.
Yes. She said yes. So right there.
Okay. So no, you do not need to do that. So the plumber's putty or the gasket will keep it from leaking. So you do not need to caulk around that. Okay. Any other questions?
Can you?
Yeah, I don't know if you can read it, Kate, or I'll go ahead. Can you demonstrate how to use the basin wrench? It's a bit of a tricky tool.
Yes. Well, I mean, I really can't do it under the sink because you won't be able to see with the video, but that's what I was trying to do with this. So, if you get it on and you're under the sink, again, like you said, it's a little tricky. So you usually have 2 hands, one to help get it on the nut. And then you hold down here at the bottom where this kind of T is, and use that to turn your nut. Does that help?
That was Stephanie.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that's
I
clear.
heard that, Kate.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, couldn't help it. I was like, we'll come over and help. We'll come over and give you a demonstration.
So, okay. Yeah, because I thought about trying to do a demo with that, and I was like, there's no way that anybody's going to be able to see on the video.
I used one of them this weekend and I had a really hard time, but it didn't have that rubbery top. It was all metal and it didn't seem to really latch on, because you kind of have to get that corner of that nut. You have to get that edge of that nut in order for it to latch on.
And this is metal also.
Oh, okay.
And again, so like if you get it on there, you can get wider ones too, but you know, you just kind of want to get it around at least a couple of those little things that are sticking out. And you just got to get it a couple of turns until it's loose enough to pull off by hand. So
Maybe it's because I was trying to tighten.
That is a good possibility. So yeah, you want to make sure that you've got it turned the right way. And I wish, I don't know. I don't think I've ever looked to see if there's a key.
And not to be a pain in the butt, but isn't
Nope.
normally it's lefty loosey, righty tighty, but isn't it opposite with plumbing?
No, it's not.
It's like
but
clockwise.
You have to think of it from the perspective of where you're looking at. So, you know, if I'm under the sink, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey, it's still the same. Tidy, it's still the same. But
Okay.
when you're, you know, when you're working at a weird angle, it's hard to remember which way is what. So, you know, yeah, that's the best way I can think about it, is if you were to lay the faucet on its side, that's the way it would go. So, you know, counterclockwise for loosening and clockwise for tightening. Does that help?
Okay, thank you.
It's not an art. All right. So, and you know, this part, oh, this one was a pain. So this one came off of my son's, and it's kind of a weird drain. Most of them have you know, this part goes straight down, and then you'll have something like this that attaches to the back of the drain. In fact, oh, here, I've got it. That one. Oh, so if you were having to replace the drain also, like I said, you would put the plumber's putty around here, put that in the top of the sink, and then you're going to put this up the bottom and attach it until, you know, it's good and tight. And you use this part right here, this rubber. You don't want it down, you want it below these holes, but you want it up tight enough against the bottom of the sink that it's not gonna move or anything like that. So this part should be inside the drain. So you get this good and tight here, and then use this nut to tighten it even more. And you really, because this is plastic, you don't need to use like a wrench or anything. Just get it good and finger tight, just as tight as you can with your fingers. And then on the back of the drain is this part, and this is where you put this little ball that this creates the seal. So they did this weird. Okay. So you put, there it is. Okay. So you put this in there, and you make sure that, I don't know if you can see that there's a hole on the bottom of this. So you want it facing that way so that you can get this in there, and then get it good and hand tight again. Should I go? Oh, right here. And then this will attach to your plug drain puller thing. I forgive my, technical wording there.
Is it called a diverter?
I don't know. No, it's not a diverter. That would be shower. Because this is just for the drain, to open the drain and close the drain. So you can see once this is attached, and then you want to put this on to make sure that this piece doesn't fall off. And so when you pull up, up and down on your drain, it moves your drain plug up and down. Okay. And if you ever need to take this out, you just, same thing, just pop this off, and then you can pull this out and clean it, which often gets really gunky. So, yeah, that's that. All right, so I wanted to use this. I'm going to go under the sink for a minute
I'm
and
gonna use my phone flashlight.
just kind of show turning off the water and testing. And then I'm going to remove a supply valve and show you how to do some troubleshooting. Okay. All right, so this is my lovely kitchen sink faucet, which has leaked in the past. So as you can see on this side, this hot water. This is the cold water side. And then I don't know if you can see those. Okay, so let's see your side. So left. Oh, cramp. All right. So turn your valve. Okay. We'll make sure it's good and turned off, and then check above to make sure there's no water on the hot side. So you can see on the hot side there's no water coming out. Okay, and then you can see it's not leaking.
They were getting a low network bandwidth message, and it might be because you're under your sink. So I don't know if it would help to maybe back up a little bit with the phone to see.
Is that better?
It's still giving me the message, but
That
I
working?
can see you and hear you now. Yeah, let's try it a little bit longer. Yeah,
Okay. All right. We'll see.
it's
So I kind of like these little boxes for this kind of work, because if you use a big bowl, and it's a peep trap. So these are nice because they're easy to get in and out under a faucet and catch your water. So again, you just take your channel locks and do this so you guys can see too. Let's get it loose.
Yeah, the video is really bad right now.
it says the audio. Yeah,
Yeah.
You can get a finger loose. maybe back up just a little bit more. I don't know. Okay. So you can see I got the hose off, and you know, it's leaking water. So if you ever have a sink that has low flow, like the very first thing I would check is the aerator. So the aerator is up here, and this is a dishwasher attachment, but the aerator is right here. So you could take this off, you know, with your, very carefully, because you don't want to bend it, but you know, get it loose, take it off, and check it to see if the screen has a bunch of corrosion in it, rinse it out, and stuff like that, and see if that helps with your flow. If it doesn't, you can check to see if your flow is low on one side or the other. So if your hot water side is low, then likely your tubing has corrosion in it.
So we have I'm sorry, we have a question. Where is the aerator in a pull down faucet?
So like a sprayer faucet, where the pull down parts, the actual, like a sprayer.
Yeah, yep. You know, a kitchen faucet where you can pull it and spray
Right,
around
so
it.
that would be like this. So you would just take the head of the sprayer off.
Okay,
And then check it.
okay, thank you.
So, yeah. So it's the same concept, but it's a sprayer instead. Okay. So, but if the flow is on, like say the hot water side only, then you know your tubing could be corroded with sediment. Or if it's on the cold water side only, then it could be the cold water side that has sediment. So in that case, you would take off the side that has the low flow. So for instance, in this case, we have the hot water side off. So what you can do, make sure that this is over your bucket because it's going to spray water. You turn on the opposite side, the cold water side. Not gonna work for me. Okay. Well, generally, it shoots water out and flushes the tubing. So kitchens are a little bit weirder because of everything being connected all into one. But the concept for a bathroom is the same, and it's a lot easier because the tubing is more separate for each side. So another thing to know, if your ball valve is leaking, a lot of them, so the ones that I had at the table don't have it, but a lot of them have a little nut right behind the valve. And you can tighten that nut and see if you can get the leaking to stop. I'm going to take the phone and I'm going to see if you can see the nut. So I don't know if you can. Did we lose everybody?
I don't know.
No, we're here. It's just
Okay.
hard to see specifically that one spot. It's just kind of blurry at that close. But I think, is everybody getting the idea?
Yeah, I'm tempted to go look right now.
Yep.
I'll stay on.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah, you can tighten that nut. Right. Okay. So yeah, you can tighten that nut and that will help with leaking at the ball valve. If you have a bad, if then that's when you need to replace the valve. And so the pipe dope or the thread sealant will come in. So when you get the old valve off, you want to, you know, clean the pipe as well as you can, and then put tape on it again. So on the threads, make sure you put 3 to 4 wraps of the tape, and then just around the tip edge of the threading, you put paint on just a little bit of that thread sealant, and it'll while you're putting on the new ball valve, it'll push that thread sealant along the threads, and it'll help adhere it better and keep it from leaking. So that's where you'd use the sealant. So you get, you know, your new ball valve on there, and then attach your tubing again. Oh. Finger tight as much as possible, and then, you know, use your wrench to get it tight the rest of the way. And then you turn your water back on, make sure it's not leaking. Okay, and as you can see, that one I had to turn a lot. That was not a quarter turn ball valve. So you can see there's no leaking, we're good there. Okay, so another thing to know is if you had to replace your ball valve and you had to clean out your pipes, one good trick to know is before you turn your faucet on to check it, remove the aerator. So you want to remove this aerator because it's likely that when you turn the water on, you're going to get a rush of that sediment or rust or whatever from you cleaning out your pipe. And you don't want that in your aerator. So remove your aerator and turn on your water. Make sure it's working. And it, you know, it'll take a minute for it to get the air out of the line. And then another thing to know is that some of the pipes or some of the faucets, when you take that aerator out, the water tends to shoot straight out at you. So turn this on very slowly when you're first starting to test that out. And put your aerator back on once it's running clear water, and then give it a shot again and make sure you're good to go. Double check underneath the sink. There's no drips, no leaks. And then you're good to go. So that is that. Some of the things that I've learned while doing this, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, I was replacing my bathroom faucet and I could not get this old one off. So you can use a Sawzall or, you know, a reciprocating saw of some type to get that off. And you want to make sure you have a good metal blade. So I don't have a official reciprocating saw, but I have this rigid tool that has head attachments, and one of the head attachments is a saw, reciprocating saw blade. And so then you have your blades this open. We have different types of blades. If the blade has, you know, pretty good teeth, that's generally a wood blade. So for doing metal, you're going to want something where the teeth are really small, really close together. And that's what you would use on your faucet to remove that, get it off. And you know, it's fine to, you know, you get this as loose as you can, and then pull it up, and then just saw under the faucet. Just saw it right off, or if you need to, just cut right into here and saw it off, and it'll all fall apart. Drains. So if you have low or drains that are, you know, not draining very well, you want to unclog them. One of the best things I have is for just like sink or shower drains is this cool little tool. And you just hold on to the kitchen. You know, you just stick it down the drain, and then turn it to clean it out. Get it down as far. We'll pull out any hair or gunk or anything out of the drain. And this is great for showers too, because you get hair in your shower and yes, it's very gross. If the drain is still clogged after doing that, you can get you know, one of these, which is a, you know, a drain snake, and the side that looks like this is the part where you put it down in the drain. Some of them look like little hand cranks. This one, you know, is a pretty simple one where you just use this to crank it in. And it, you know, it goes a lot farther. I generally don't need to use one of these, but they come in handy occasionally. This fatter one here, this is for the toilet. And you can put it directly down the toilet. I would recommend trying to take the toilet off, like take the whole toilet off the floor and doing it directly in the hole if you can.
So someone had a question. What were that small little thing? Is it called a beaver or a? Yeah, that.
This one's called a drain weasel.
Okay, that's it.
But you know, they have similar products, even at like Fred Meyer. Damn, Cornelius. Try not to use Drano or any of that other stuff. You know, it's good for a temporary thing, but it really, what it does is it eats away at your pipes and ends up causing a lot more long-term issues. So another thing you can do when fixing the pipe drain, let's see if I can show you this. So the P-traps actually, you know, they come apart pretty easily. So if you can just get this, I'm not going to do it right now because it'll cause a whole bunch of water to fall, but you get this nut loose and you pull it up, and then you can just open up the P-trap, and you know, use a toothbrush or one of those drain weasels or whatever to clean out whatever gunk's in your P-trap. So, and then put it back together. You don't need anything special for it. No tape or putty or anything like that. Okay, so, oh, wow, I mean, just about in an hour, so that was pretty good. Questions? No?
Anybody have any final questions for Sandy?
Any troubleshooting that you're running across that you need help with, or?
Someone said, thanks, all I need now is courage. I agree with that. I want to touch my own plumbing.
Okay, so let me just tell this story. I was telling Kate earlier because, especially as women, I think, is everybody on here, are we all women, or are there a few men? I
don't see any male looking names, but not to try to gender label anybody, but
that's true. Okay, so
it is a women build workshop.
Yes, but so, you know, as a woman, you know, I have limitations, and arm strength is definitely one of my limitations, you know, and I'm a pretty strong woman, but so a couple of weeks ago when I was removing that bathroom faucet, I could not get it off. And I ended up having to call a guy friend to come and get it off. You know, it was like, once I get it off, I knew I could put it all back together. So, you know, it's okay to have those things happen. And generally replacing a faucet takes about an hour. It took me all day long to do that last week. If anything could possibly go wrong, it did. And I literally sat on the floor and cried for about an hour over it. But, you know, I got it done, and I did have to call in some help, you know, for the strength, but it's okay. And I still did it myself, and I didn't have to call a plumber, and, you know, so it was good. It was a good experience. It's always a good learning experience. You know, and it can be scary, but, you know, it's really not too bad. So.
Yeah, I like to think that Bob Villa probably sits on his floor and cries every now and then too. We all run into those problems.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, you just never know. And so that's why I was trying to share some of the things that I've come across. Like it's okay to take a reciprocating saw to your old faucet. You're not keeping it anyway. So, you know, cut it off. Right. You do what you got to do, but apparently my cat likes the toolbox.
I have to roll, but thank you, Sandy. This was great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it much. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good night.
Thanks, Sandy.
You're
right.
welcome.
Yeah, I think everybody's
Thanks,
wrapping
Sandy.
up.
That was great.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sandy. It was a great first session.
Great. I'm glad.
Yep. And so for anybody still hanging in, you'll get an email tomorrow that'll have a link to the video and survey and all that. So please fill that out. So yeah, thanks. Have a great night. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
Talk to you
Have a
soon.
good night. Bye.
Good night.
See you next month.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.